Liverpool somehow beat Bournemouth 4-2. We weren't perfect. The game wasn't without its controversies and problems, but we came out on top. 5 talking points from today's game. First thing I want to talk about is Ekitike. He was great in the match against Crystal Palace, and he was great again today. Definitely the main man early on. Once again, I've noticed he does this kind of roaming number 9 rather than a false number 9 or an advanced forward right at the top. He sort of drifts around. He comes deep a lot, collects the ball, lays off to Wirtz, McAllister, but then will rush forward again. He'll drift to the left, providing space for Gakpo to come into the centre. He moves around a lot and it's not predictable and it doesn't seem formulaic. It seems like he kind of senses where the space may be and he plays his game that way. Along with being very smooth on the ball for such a tall guy, he also has a great sense of space, either to pass into or to run into himself. He just seems to read the game very, very well. His first goal showed a lot of composure, balance, because the ball sort of bundled off the Bournemouth defender. And whilst your reactions have to be high enough to be able to take advantage of that situation, you also need to maintain your balance. You also need to keep your composure and not swipe at it super quick because you think the opportunity is going to get closed down. He had all of that. He sort of bundled his way through the Bournemouth defence and then calmly slotted the ball into the corner, sending the goalkeeper the wrong way. That is very heartening considering we've seen Darwin Nunez in similar situations fluff his lines. As I like to say, he didn't finish his dinner. Ekitike, he had his serving. He enjoyed his food that moment. He also showed great awareness of players around him, such as with the goal that he served to Gakpo. It was a situation where he drifted slightly over to the left, opening some space in the centre. Seeing Gakpo could run into that, he just, a very simple ball, just puts it into the path of Gakpo, but in a way which encouraged Gakpo to just keep going along the edge of the penalty box until the shooting opportunity opened up. And Gakpo as well showed great composure with a very accurate finish. So Ekitike was heavily involved in our attack in the first half. He was also heavily involved in the build-up play. Just super impressive all round, really. From the very beginning, we showed defensive vulnerability, just like we did against Crystal Palace. Konate was off his game from the very first minute. He had multiple times where he almost gave the ball away in the first 15 minutes. One was a miscue when he should have been able to control it. Luckily, he rescued himself by sticking out a foot and putting the ball into the air to buy him and Van Dijk some time to recontrol the situation. Another was a bad back pass to Alisson where he put a ball out for an unnecessary corner for Bournemouth. He was also caught ball watching as well. What's going on with Konate? That may be a bit harsh. First game of the season. Let's hope his performances pick up, but today was not great. But it's not just Konate. The whole defensive line looked shaky for a couple of reasons. One, Van Dijk seemed off the pace too, especially for Semenyo's second goal. He was slow in running back, but he also just didn't seem to read the threats as quick as he normally does, and maybe he has lost a yard of pace. He is getting older. Everyone is subject to father time catching up with them eventually. He should still have a year or two at the top of his game, you would think, but who knows? And then with our fullbacks, Kirkes, who didn't have the best of games, his passing was a little off, his runs were not so great, but he did get stuck in and he did kind of fight for every ball. And Frimpong, who I thought was excellent, because they were quite involved in the build-up, they did leave gaps. And usually an informed Van Dijk and Konate should be able to handle that, along with a Gravenberch dropping back into almost like a back three at times. Without Gravenberch playing today, and with those two fullbacks bombing forward, we were very vulnerable. We also didn't have much of a solid back line for things like offside traps and so on. And when Slot pulled off Frimpong and Kirkes and brought on Endo for right back and Robertson for left back, I think the intent was to make us more of a solid back four unit to see the game out. Unfortunately, it didn't work out because we conceded a goal within a couple of minutes of that happening. And Endo on the right was targeted for the next 10-15 minutes because he's not a fullback and he wasn't quite handling the fullback responsibilities in the right way. He was drifting into midfield, which is where he wanted to be. So I'm not sure about Slot's choice of bringing Endo there when he had Gomez and brought Gomez on later anyway. And Gomez can handle right back much more. He's played there much more often. But conceding 2 goals in a game for the second game in a row, and we conceded multiple goals in games throughout pre-season, is not good. We need to fix this defense. Is bringing someone like a Gahey in the solution? I don't think it is as simple as that. Leone, we've just signed a young Italian defender. Come on, he's 18. He's not ready to come in and displace Konate or Van Dijk, that's for sure. So it's not really about bringing different personnel in my opinion. It's about getting them working as a unit. It's fair enough. Kirkhead and Frimpong are new to the team. You're not going to work as a unit straight from the beginning. And I said in a previous video, expect 10 games of maybe some difficulties, maybe some pain, maybe some bad results as they get used to each other and understand what is needed from a defensive setup. On a positive, Frimpong, I love the way he plays. He's rapid, isn't he? He's so fast. And he gets back super quick. He gets skin tight to his man. He's all over them. He's climbing them. He's grappling them. He's like a leech. He gets stuck to the defender when they're running at pace and also when he's trying to get the ball off him. It's fantastic. In the second half, though, he got elbowed off the ball a few too many times, or elbowed off the tackle when he's coming in to try and mark a player. They just were able to shove him aside a bit too much. And so I think he needs to build up a little bit of strength, a little bit of power in his play. He's definitely got the pace, that's for sure. He made a fantastic run into the box, which wasn't seen, and he didn't get capitalized on, but he would have been in on goal. And so I think he can be a good attacking threat as well this season. All right, this annoyed me. VAR. That should have been a red card, right? What happened was a ball got pushed forward and a Bournemouth player tried to prevent it with his knee. It bounced off into his arm, and then as it was bouncing away, he swiped at it and touched it with his fingertips. He was the last defender. Ekitike was going to run through. If he had got to that ball and carried on, it'd just be Ekitike on a one-on-one with the goalie, a clear goal-scoring opportunity. Should have been a red card, should have been a foul. It was neither. The referee didn't penalise it at all. With VAR watching multiple replays, they didn't get stuck in. Now, the problem was, I think it was decided a bit too quickly because even on the TV, we didn't quite see it until we watched the third angle. But you think that VAR have multiple monitors and all the angles available at hand, and they still didn't catch it with about 20 to 30 seconds of viewing time. So that's a big mistake on the very first game of the season. If that's a sign of VAR to come, we've got another frustrating year. But if he had been sent off, I think that would have changed the whole game, because I'm not sure a 10-man Bournemouth would have been able to put up as much of a fight as they did in coming back to 2-2. You know, that does change things. And so we may have had an easier result and an easier game if the refs had just done their job. And the final thing I want to talk about is how disjointed Liverpool look. Listen, Salah and Chiesa saved us at the end. Liverpool are mentality monsters from Klopp's time, and they're remaining that. They never give up. They fight. They win. They always believe in themselves to come through any adversity, right? Fantastic. And we want them to keep that mentality. We want to control games and dominate games, win games 2-0. That would be preferable instead of big, high, dramatic games where we have to come back to win 4-2 at the end. Granted, 4 brand new players for Liverpool were in that 11. Ekitike was fantastic. Wirtz was all over the place. He didn't quite get as many opportunities as was given. Players didn't pass to him as much as they should have, but he was very, very important. His understanding of space and awareness and positioning was top-notch. Frimpong, excellent Premier League debut. Kirkhead wasn't amazing, but he was solid. But because they don't know the players around them enough, there is a sense of a lot of misplaced passes, a lot of passing opportunities not seen or not taken advantage of leaving gaps in defense, of not knowing when to push up and when to come back. Some of that conservative nature that Slot had last season where the times to attack were really picked carefully. And other than that, we would form a solid defensive unit. That doesn't seem to be there anymore. We seem a lot more gung-ho. And actually, whilst I loved the Klopp era, this was more reminiscent of a early period Klopp game where everything was heavy metal football. And Slot didn't really help himself with some of his substitutions, right? Putting Endo in right back, waiting to bring Gomez on, pulling Ekitike off and actually not replacing him straight away with Chiesa. Chiesa coming on only late. So we had a period of time in a game where we didn't have a number 9 focal point. Slot didn't help himself with those tactical choices. And it's like he believes all his players can play multiple positions and adapt on the fly. And maybe he's trying to coach them into that. Maybe this is a growing period and he wants us to be develop into the old Ajax 70s total football where every player can play in every position and you have just tons of interchangeability. But then it's going to be a painful growing period if we're doing that because the players don't have that just yet. Anyway, let me know what you think about this game. What were your highlights? What were your lowlights? What are your concerns? And what are the big positives that you can take from it? I've shared mine. Tell me yours. I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.